My stepmother packed the cooler herself that morning. 2 bottles of champagne. A wheel of brie. A jar of olives she had shipped from a specialty store in Connecticut. She also packed something else. A notarized change of beneficiary form. The yacht left the marina at noon. By 7 p.m. I was in the water. But to understand how that happened, you have to go back. Because nothing like this ever starts in a single moment. It builds. Quietly. Carefully. Like something being assembled piece by piece. Until the final move looks like an accident. My father's name was Garrett Whitmore. He built a maritime logistics company. From nothing. 1 tugboat. 1 borrowed dock. That's all he started with. By the time I was 12. His company handled cargo routing for half the eastern seaboard below Norfolk. By the time I turned 18. We were living in a white clapboard house on Breer Point. Wraparound porch. Harbor view. And boats. Coming and going all day long. I grew up on those docks. Not in classrooms. Not in quiet rooms. But in tugboat wheelhouses. In shipping yards. In the back rows of arbitration hearings. Where I did homework while lawyers argued over cargo insurance. My mother died when I was 11. Ovarian cancer. 14 months. That's all it took. After that, it was just me and my father. And he raised me the only way he knew how. Direct. Practical. You learn fast, he used to say. Or you get left behind. I never got left behind. 7 years later? He remarried. Colleen. She was different from anything in our world. An event planner from Bridgeport. Polished. Controlled. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they belonged there. My father loved that. He had spent his life dealing with captains and cargo crews. He didn't know how to create comfort. Colleen did. She brought her daughter with her. Jana. 16. Quiet. Careful. The kind of person who spoke only when spoken to. They moved in. My father expanded the guest wing for them. And just like that, our life changed. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But steadily. The kind of change you don't notice. Until everything feels different. My father had one tradition he never broke. The annual yacht trip. Every year since I was 12. Same idea. Same water. Same sense of control. The first time he took me out, he let me steer. Just for 20 minutes. He stood behind me. Hands on the wheel. Not guiding. Just there. That was his version of trust. And I understood it. Because everything he did had purpose. Even the smallest things. Like the cooler. He bought it in 1997. Red canvas. Brass buckles. 8 pounds empty. He used to fill it with ham sandwiches and root beer. Simple. Practical. Reliable. When Colleen came into our lives, she changed that too. Champagne instead of soda. Imported food instead of sandwiches. My father never argued about it. Because to him, those details didn't matter. But they did. Just not in the way he thought. My father trusted 2 people with his estate. Me. And his attorney. Howard Kessler. A man who had been in his life longer than I had. And when my father trusted someone, he planned ahead. 10 years ahead. Sometimes more. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack. At his desk. One hand on paperwork. One hand on coffee that was still warm. That's how they found him. The will reading was quiet. Controlled. Howard sat at the head of the table. Colleen wore a black dress she had bought the day before. I knew it was new. The tag was still tucked inside. Jana sat beside her, looking at her phone. Not reacting. Howard read everything in order. No drama. No pauses. Just facts. I received controlling interest in the company. Through an irrevocable trust. Created 10 years earlier. Protected. Untouchable. Colleen received the house. For as long as she wanted to live in it. And a monthly stipend. $12,000. Nothing else. She didn't cry. Didn't argue. Didn't even raise her voice. She stood up. Smoothed her dress. And walked out. Jana followed. Neither of them said goodbye. And that should have told me everything. But it didn't. Not yet. Because what happened next wasn't loud. It was quiet. Measured. Calculated. At first. Small changes. New curtains. New rugs. Then bigger ones. My photos disappeared. My mother's paintings were replaced. Locks changed. Doors restricted. Spaces redefined. I didn't say anything. Because my father had left her that house. And I was honoring that. 6 months later. Howard called me. She's making moves. That's all he said. And that's when I realized. This wasn't over. It had just begun. Because when people can't win legally, they don't stop. They adapt. And Colleen was very good at adapting. The warmth started after that. Suddenly. She was kind. Cooking dinner. Bringing coffee. Calling me sweetheart. Every morning. Same time. Same smile. Watching me take a sip. Before leaving the room. At the time. I thought she was changing. Accepting. Moving forward. I was wrong. She wasn't changing. She was preparing. Because trust is something you build before you spend it. And she was about to spend all of it. On one day. One trip. One moment. She believed I wouldn't survive. In late May. She suggested the yacht trip. Let's do it properly this year, she said. Just us. Me. Her. Jana. Jana looked up. Just for a second. Something crossed her face. I didn't understand it then. I said yes. Because I wasn't ready to let my father's traditions die. I should have let it die. The morning of the trip. I packed light. Sunscreen. A book. And one thing I never left behind. My father's compass. Brass. Worn. Reliable. He bought it in 1989 from a retired captain. The man told him something I never forgot. It won't tell you where to go. It will tell you which way you're already facing. I carried it with me everywhere after he died. And that morning. It was in my pocket. At the marina? Everything looked normal. Too normal. The yacht was ready. The cooler was packed. Colleen stood on the dock. Perfectly composed. 2 crew members waited on board. I didn't recognize them. Where's Captain Engel? I asked. On vacation, she said. I hired replacements. They nodded. Didn't introduce themselves. Didn't speak. That was the first sign. But not the last. Because by 7 p.m., I would understand everything. And it would already be too late. The first hour on the water felt normal. That was the most dangerous part. Nothing was wrong. The engine hummed steadily. The coastline stretched beside us. Calm. Predictable. Unchanged. The water was flat enough to reflect the hull. Like a shadow trailing behind us. I stood near the stern for most of it. Watching the wake. Listening. Because when something feels too smooth, you start paying attention. Jana sat at the bow. Phone in her hands. Scrolling. Not speaking. Not looking at me. Not once. It wasn't unusual. But it wasn't normal either. It was deliberate. Colleen moved around the deck like she owned it. Which, technically, she didn't. But she carried herself like she did. At 2 p.m. she opened the champagne. The sound of the cork snapping echoed across the water. Sharp. Clean. Final. She poured 3 glasses. Walked toward us. Family, she said. Simple. Controlled. I took the glass. Jana took hers. We drank. The champagne was cold. Very dry. Expensive. Of course it was. Everything Colleen did was intentional. Even this. Especially this. I checked the compass out of habit. The needle pointed north. We were heading south-southeast. Following the coastline. Toward a stretch of water my father used to anchor in. Familiar. Safe. Or at least, that's what it was supposed to be. By 6:30, we slowed. The engine dropped to a low hum. Then silence. We had anchored. I looked around. The cove wasn't one I recognized. That mattered. Because my father never anchored in unfamiliar places. Not without checking everything twice. The sky was shifting. Orange to purple. The kind of evening that makes everything feel calm. Peaceful. And that's exactly what she wanted. Colleen poured the last glass of champagne. Carried it to me. I was standing at the stern rail. Watching the water. She stepped beside me. Close. Too close. Beautiful evening, she said. Her voice was soft. Almost warm. Then she leaned in. Close enough that I could smell the brie on her breath. And she whispered something I will never forget. Say hi to the sharks for me. Her hand hit the center of my back. Before the last word finished. Hard. Precise. Not emotional. Not panicked. Planned. The railing gave instantly. Not bending. Not resisting. Giving. Like it had already been broken. I went backward. No time to react. No time to grab anything. Just sky. Then water. Impact. The first thing I noticed was the temperature. Warm. 74 degrees. My father always knew the exact temperature of any body of water. Within 2 degrees. The second thing was the engine. Revving. Not stopping. Not turning. Accelerating. I surfaced. Salt burned my eyes. The yacht was already moving. 30 yards away. Getting smaller. Faster. I looked at the stern. Jana was standing there. Looking down at the water. At me. For a moment, I thought she would react. Throw something. Call out. Do anything. She didn't. She turned. Walked inside the cabin. And closed the door. Just like that. The wake hit me twice. Then the water went still. And I was alone. No noise. No engine. No voices. Just open water. And distance. I kicked off my shoes. They sank immediately. My phone was gone. Dead on impact. But one thing remained. My father's compass. Heavy in my pocket. Brass. Solid. Real. I held it for a second. Then put it back. Because I didn't need direction. I needed survival. I turned toward the shore. A dark line in the distance. Lights scattered along it. 2 miles. Maybe less. My father had taught me to swim when I was 5. Anyone who can't swim, he said, is a liability. I wasn't a liability. I started swimming. Slow. Controlled. Not fast. Because speed doesn't matter. Endurance does. After 20 minutes. The cramp hit. Left calf. Sharp. Immediate. I rolled onto my back. Floating. Waiting. Because panic wastes energy. And energy was everything. The sky darkened. Orange fading into purple. First stars appearing. And in that moment, I thought about my father. How he would have checked the railing. How he never trusted anything without verifying it himself. And I realized something. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. Every detail. Every movement. Every second. From the champagne. To the railing. To the timing. And Jana? She knew. Maybe not everything. But enough. I kept swimming. Arms steady. Breathing controlled. Distance shrinking. Slowly. Painfully. But moving. Because as long as you're moving, you're not done. Then. I saw something. Lights. Not shoreline lights. Moving lights. Low on the water. A boat. Closer. Then a voice. Over a loudspeaker. You in the water? I didn't answer. I didn't have the energy. Stay where you are. The boat turned. Came toward me. Close enough now. A trawler. Old. Working vessel. Solid. A man leaned over the side. Threw a hook. Grab it. I did. He pulled. Strong. Efficient. No hesitation. And just like that, I was out of the water. Alive. Fall off a party boat, he asked. I caught my breath. Looked at him. Something like that. He didn't ask more. Didn't need to. He handed me a blanket. Wool. Smelled like diesel and fish. Perfect. Then coffee. Hot. Strong. Real. You want to call someone? He asked. I nodded. Yes. He handed me a satellite phone. Heavy. Reliable. I dialed one number. Howard. He answered on the second ring. Mila? I'm alive, I said. Pause. Then. What happened? Colleen pushed me off the yacht. Silence. 5 seconds. Then. Where are you? I gave him the coordinates. He repeated them. Then said something. That changed everything. Do not call anyone else. Why? Because right now. She thinks you're dead. I stayed quiet. If she thinks you're dead. He continued. She will act. Every move she makes. will become evidence. That's when I understood. This wasn't over. It had just shifted. From survival to strategy. Give me 48 hours, he said. I'll have everything. I looked out at the dark water. Then back at the man who pulled me out. I can do that, I said. And just like that, the real story began. I didn't go home that night. I didn't call anyone else. I didn't even check the shoreline again. Because once Howard said those words, everything changed. If she thinks you're dead, she will act. That wasn't advice. That was strategy. And my father trusted Howard for a reason. So I stayed invisible. The trawler rocked gently under my feet. The smell of salt and diesel filled the air. And for the first time since I hit the water, I wasn't reacting. I was waiting. The man who pulled me out, Captain Dale, didn't ask unnecessary questions. He didn't need details. He had already seen enough. 2 days, he asked. Yes. He nodded once. I've done worse. And that was it. No sympathy. No curiosity. Just space. The kind of space you need when something has just tried to end you. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I couldn't. Because my mind was working. Rebuilding. Replaying. Every detail of that day. The champagne. The crew. The railing. Jana. And the one thing that mattered most. Timing. Because nothing about that moment was random. It was constructed. Carefully. And if it was constructed, it could be proven. Morning came quietly. Gray sky. Low wind. Captain Dale handed me coffee. Same steel mug. Strong. I took it. Someone tried to kill you, he said. Not a question. A statement. Yes. You going to do something about it? I looked out at the water. Yes. He nodded. Good. That was all. Because men like him don't need explanations. They just need direction. At sunrise on the second day, Howard called. His voice was different. Focused. Precise. She gave us everything. I didn't ask how. I already knew. Because when people think they've won, they stop being careful. And Colleen had stopped being careful. Howard walked me through everything. Not emotionally. Chronologically. Because that's how truth holds. Timeline. Evidence. Facts. 7 a.m., he said. 12 hours after the incident. She reports you missing. 12 hours. Not immediate. Not urgent. Delayed. Intentional. 7:42, he continued. She calls her attorney. 9:15, emergency petition filed. Seeking control of the estate. Fast. Too fast. Because grief doesn't move like that. But opportunity does. 11:30, insurance company. Pause. 3 policies. My grip tightened. Total payout, 4.2 million. Silence. Because that wasn't planning. That was preparation. 2 of those policies were less than 6 months old, he added. There it was. Pattern. Motive. Intent. All aligned. Then came the next detail. A locksmith arrived at the house. Locks changed. Your father's study secured. Of course. Because that's where the documents were. The real ones. The ones she couldn't access before. Everything she did was moving toward one thing. control. And she believed she had it. Because she believed I was gone. By the second day, she had filed claims, changed locks, contacted lawyers, positioned herself as the only one left. Every move documented. Every action recorded. Every decision. Building the case against her. I sat on the deck. Listening. Not surprised. Because once you understand someone's intent, their actions become predictable. Time to come home, Howard said. And just like that, the waiting was over. Captain Dale dropped me off at a small harbor, 40 minutes south of home. No attention. No questions. Just a quiet departure. Make sure she doesn't get away with it, he said. I won't, I replied. A car was waiting. Black sedan. Driver silent. Efficient. No small talk. No curiosity. Just movement. During the drive, Howard called again. More details. More confirmation. She wasn't working alone, he said. That mattered. There's a second attorney. Trust litigation specialist. And then, the final piece. A forged codicil. I closed my eyes briefly. Because now, everything was complete. She planned to add herself as co-beneficiary, he continued. 50%. The timing? 18 months before my father's death. Prepared. Filed. Waiting. For the right moment. The moment I died. That was the plan. Not impulsive. Not emotional. Structured. Long-term. Deliberate. I looked out the window. The coastline passing slowly. Morning light cutting across the water. And I realized something clearly. This wasn't just about money. It never was. It was about ownership. Identity. Control over something she believed should have been hers. And when she couldn't get it legally, she built another path. One that ended in the ocean. The car turned into the driveway. The house came into view. Exactly the same. White walls. Dark shutters. Perfect from the outside. But inside, everything was about to change. Howard was already there. Waiting. Prepared. And this time, we weren't reacting. We were presenting truth, evidence, and consequences. I stepped out of the car. Salt still in my hair. Clothes not mine. But none of that mattered. Because the moment I walked through that door, everything she believed was about to collapse. And she had no idea it was coming. The front door was unlocked. That told me everything. Because Colleen had already changed the locks. Which meant one thing. She felt safe. Safe enough to stop being careful. I stepped inside. The house smelled different. Cleaner. Sharper. Like something had been reset. My father's chair was gone. The one by the window. The one he sat in every morning. Replaced. New fabric. New color. No history. No memory. Just removed. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Quick. Then slower. Controlled. Colleen appeared first. Black dress. Hair perfect. Composed. Until she saw me. And in that single moment, everything broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But completely. Her face didn't just change. It emptied. Like her mind couldn't process what it was seeing. Because to her, I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to exist anymore. You. That was all she managed. One word. Incomplete. Behind her. Jana froze. Halfway down the hallway. Eyes locked on me. And this time, she didn't look away. Because now, there was nothing left to pretend. Howard stepped in beside me. Folder in hand. Calm. Prepared. We should sit, he said. Not a suggestion. A direction. No one argued. Because shock removes resistance. We moved into the living room. Same room. Different energy. Colleen sat first. Not because she wanted to. Because her legs gave out. Jana stayed standing. Against the wall. Silent. Watching everything. Howard placed the folder on the table. Opened it. And began. Let's go through the timeline. No emotion. No accusation. Just facts. 7 p.m. Incident occurs. Colleen didn't speak. 7:12 Yacht departs the location. Silence. 7:48 No distress call made. Her hands tightened. 7 a.m. Missing person reported. A pause. Delayed by 12 hours. That landed. Because delay is intention. Howard turned the page. 9:15 Petition for estate control filed. Another page. 11:30 Insurance claims initiated. Another. 3 policies. He looked up. Total value, $4.2 million. The room was still. Heavy. Because now. This wasn't a story. It was evidence. And evidence doesn't argue. It concludes. Colleen finally spoke. This is absurd. Her voice was back. Controlled. Measured. But thinner now. Less certain. She fell, she continued. It was an accident. Howard didn't respond. He simply turned another page. Railing inspection report. He slid the document forward. Pre-cut bolts. Silence. Not confusion. Recognition. Because she knew. You're making assumptions, she said. No, Howard replied calmly. I'm presenting facts. Then. The final document. The one that mattered most. The codicil. Her breath caught. Barely. But enough. Filed 18 months ago, he continued. Forged. Invalid. Her eyes moved. Not to him. To me. Because now. She understood something. This wasn't about survival. This was about exposure. Complete. Irreversible. Jana spoke then. Quiet. Almost hesitant. I told you not to do it. The room shifted. Colleen turned toward her. Sharp. Angry. But it was too late. Because silence had already broken. I told you this wouldn't work, Jana continued. I told you. Stop, Colleen snapped. But she didn't. Because once truth starts, it doesn't stop. I didn't push her, Jana said. I didn't touch anything. But I knew. That word mattered. Because knowledge is participation. And she knew it. Howard closed the folder. That's everything, he said. Not dramatic. Not final. Just complete. Because the conclusion was already clear. Colleen stood up slowly. Not panicked. Not chaotic. Just finished. This isn't over, she said. But her voice Didn't believe it. Because deep down, she already knew. It was. 2 days later, she was arrested. Not for suspicion. For evidence. Structured. Documented. Complete. Jana wasn't charged. But she left. Quietly. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. And the house? The house stayed. But everything inside it changed. My father's chair came back. The paintings. The photos. The things that mattered. Not because they were expensive. Because they were real. That evening, I sat on the porch. The harbor in front of me. Boats moving slowly across the water. Just like they always had. And for the first time since that night, everything was still. Not empty. Not quiet. Balanced. Because the truth doesn't just expose people. It restores things. Order. Clarity. Reality. I took the compass out of my pocket. Turned it slowly. Watched the needle settle. North. Always north. It doesn't tell you where to go. It tells you where you're already facing. And for the first time, I knew exactly where that was. Forward. Always forward.